So here's the follow-up to that whole hair cutting, trimming thing. Where else are you gonna find something quite as monotonous as this? A follow-up to a haircut. That's right, no one else is doing this sort of thing, so don't you go changing, because this is clearly cutting edge stuff. In fairness, it was a little bit out of the ordinary. It's not every day that someone cuts or trims their locked hair. It was the first time I'd done it in maybe 4 years, so it was semi-noteworthy, and people watched it, so I guess some people other than myself were interested. It's got a bit more value than a regular hair trim, I think. It's been a couple of months now. I guess it's been like 2 months since I cut them shorter. Shorter being a relative term, because I see that they still barely fit into the frame, but they're now down to here, whereas before I could tuck them like under my belt, which you can't see, but it's definitely shorter. While I expected to be somewhat saddened by trimming them, I really haven't. I think by far the hardest thing was the build-up, sort of getting to the cutting, and then once you've cut them and it's over, it's like, oh, it's done now, and everything is fine. I'm honestly not quite sure why it feels like such a big thing to cut your hair. I guess maybe if it's been 4 years since you've cut them and you've kind of got this sort of built up, there's like an achievement to it, because they take so damn long to grow that you feel that once they've grown to a certain length that you've gained something from that, and you kind of put to one side the impracticalities of having them that long. Like, no, but look, I've achieved this. And I guess when you take a step back, personally, I started to be a lot busier in my day-to-day. I had so much more stuff to do that it wasn't really gelling practically. I went over that in my pros and cons of cutting video. So, I mean, I was dead set on doing it, but I was still a little bit apprehensive about the process itself. I was concerned, but once it's done, and I'm only having positives now to express to you. All the positives that you can expect. They are lighter because there's less weight on my head. They wash faster, they dry faster, and they don't get in my way as much. I can just, they're so much more practical, and so much more practical. They're working much better for me now, I'm happy to report. On a sort of physical level, if some of you may be interested, they haven't actually frayed up as much as I expected them to. You can see, can you see? No. They're not as squared off as they were when I cut them. If you watch the video with the cutting, they were like squared, but now they just look kind of normal-ish. Some are still a bit weird, but my experience in the past has been that they usually, I say usually, it has been at least 4 years, but in the past when I've done it, they've loosened up a lot more at the end and sort of frayed and gone wispy. But this time they've kind of stayed more together, and I can only put that down to them being older now than when I've cut them before. So maybe they were looser and softer when I trimmed them before, and therefore more likely to go loose, or maybe they'll just loosen up more over time. But it's been a couple of months now, and they seem to have settled like this. They're not locked over like quote-unquote blunted tips where they're like proper rounded off and locked in, but they're neither wispy either. So I guess they're kind of a cool in-between. Doesn't really bother me either way. It's just for those that are interested. I would still point out though, as all my previous experience with this has been that the ends fray and go loose and become wispy, I wouldn't jump to recommend cutting your hair just to make them more rounded and neater at the ends if that's what you so desire, because as I say, whenever I've done it in the past, that has not been the effect, and I believe this may potentially have only happened because they are so old now, like 9 years old, that maybe they are less prone to loosening up now. So your mileage may vary in that department. That's pretty much all I have to say. In fact, I'm surprised I've managed to talk this long about having a haircut, or not like the follow-up to a haircut. I have the ability to ramble on and turn something into nothing. No, scratch it, reverse it, nothing into something. I've spoken for far too long, about 4 years too long. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Hope to get next time. Farewell. I don't know if you can hear the wind. It's crazy windy outside. I keep my hat on pretty much all the time at the moment because otherwise I mean, my hair's not that prone to blowing around because, I mean, it's quite dense. So it's quite heavy in that if it's really windy, my hair will do this. But there's loose hair, and if I go out in the wind, it's like this strange now. So the hat is like major practical at the moment. Just yes.